Welcome into the Bulldog Blitz. I'm Gerhard Bathingani, joined in with the head coach of the Anniston Bulldogs, Eddie Bullock. Each week we're here to recap the week that was and look ahead to next week of Anniston Bulldog football. Anniston lost a close game in their first region game to Asheville last week. Coach, final score 15-6 in that one. Talk about some of the things you saw overall in the football game and some of the things you pulled away from it.
Well, offensively, we couldn't get started. We got to work on some blocking, work on some guys doing the assignments correctly. And defensively, we just kind of blew some assignments. We didn't quite have the gap integrity that we normally have, and we just got some things we got to work on.
Asheville looked improved to me as far as what they've been in years past. Is that kind of what you saw Friday night?
Absolutely. They were a lot better in person than they showed on film. They were pretty sound technique-wise, and they actually were up for the task, and they just basically outplayed us. Right.
35 points last week and 6 this week, but it seemed to me that, and we'll check these highlights out in a little while, but it seemed to me that you couldn't get the offense rolling the way that you wanted to, kind of like you did last week. Was that kind of one of the talking points of the game after the game so far?
Right, that was one of the main points. We just, we kept the defense out on the field a little too long, and we just really couldn't get in the groove. We had a lot of busted assignments on offense, and I think it was basically due to lack of focus, and we just couldn't get going.
Right. 0-1 in the region, but the region and the year in general is really, really early. Is that one of the points that you give to your team that, hey, we're still in this, but we can't lose much moving forward?
Well, that's what we talk about. We tell them that game was fairly early, and we kind of got in the same situation last year. But from a coaching point, you don't want to get in that situation because it's just tough. Getting down to the end of the season and you having to play a team. Last year, we were fortunate to beat an undefeated team, which was a great team that went, 3 or 4 rounds in the playoffs, and we were fortunate enough to beat them. But you can't always count on that.
Right, but I'm sure it helps to refocus some of these guys early on and knowing that, hey, we can play our best ball, and our best ball can beat anybody.
Well, it does, but as I mentioned earlier, you don't want to put yourself in that kind of situation. You want to make sure that you take care of business, especially at home, and, we kind of let one get away at home.
Talk about some of the takeaways you had on defense and on special teams and some of the things that we might not have seen as far as in the highlights and all of that kind of stuff, but some of the takeaways that you've had so far now that you're 2 games into the season.
Well, in that particular game, we forced a couple of fumbles, and we they got in the red zone, and we actually held them 8 plays consecutively, 2 missed field goals, and we just couldn't get it rolling, and basically that kind of, when you keep your defense on the field too long, they eventually wear down.
Absolutely. First half highlights will be coming up here in just a moment here on the Bulldog Blitz, and we will take a look at Anniston and Asheville. Later in the show, we'll take a look at Anniston's 3rd week opponent. All that and more next here on the Bulldog Blitz. We're back on the Bulldog Blitz. First half highlights of Anniston's 2nd game of the season against Asheville. Coach, talk about some of the things you saw here in the first half.
Well, we were moving pretty quickly. Had pretty good gap integrity, and as you could see earlier, we forced a fumble. They were early in the game and gave the offense pretty good field position, and we just didn't capitalize on it. Didn't move the ball quite like we did last year. And, you see right here, Mario Dobbins getting out of bounds on a play, and we ended up having to punt the ball. Right here you can see we got tremendous pressure on the quarterback. We actually should have had a sack, but, as part of being inexperienced, we basically, just didn't force a turnover right there. And, of course, we had problems with our snapping all night. I don't know if it was due to the rain previous to the game, but, we had a lot of low snaps, just, tremendously low snaps. And, as you see earlier, we had pretty decent gap integrity, but a couple of situations right here, we missed some tackles. We just didn't break down, didn't wrap up on the quarterback like we should. And, eventually you wear down. And, of course, we had a slip screen call right here on offense. We tried to get the quick passing game going, and we just didn't, never could get it going. And You know, right here they sacked us for a play. We turned the ball over on downs. And early in the game we had good field position, but we just didn't maintain what we had. And on this particular play, had a quarterback draw, and you know, outside linebacker has the quarterback, and just didn't take it. But you know, his defense stepped up again. Sharrell Brown breaks up the pass, and you know, right here, you know, they're in the red zone, I believe, for 8 consecutive plays, and we were able to keep them out of the end zone again. You know, we break up another close pass, and you know, quarterback on this particular play, we had a bad snap, and quarterback had to go out. Mario Dobbins had to go out the game, and we had to put another quarterback in. Of course, we had a bad snap, and they ended up getting a safety, and that's how they got on the scoreboard. And then right here, we blew an assignment on the screen pass, and you know, just getting in rhythm, and we kind of defensively, we just kind of went downhill a little bit from here. Right here, you see we had an opportunity to pick the pass off, and we missed an interception right there. So just you know, a few things here and now, we just couldn't get in the groove.
Yeah, and it seemed to me that the defense, and you talked about the 8 plays down in the red zone, the defense really played well, and it was kind of a bend, don't break kind of defense, and then got into the red zone and really bowed up and played well off against the pass and against the run.
Well, we did. Actually, in the red zone, after the first 3 downs, they attempted a field goal, and we actually ran into the kicker and gave them a first down, and they were able to redo it again. And we actually stopped them 3 more plays, and they attempted a field goal again, and we caused them to miss that. You know, great rush. So the defense played well. I was very, very pleased with how we played at that particular time, but you know, we still wanted them to give me a little bit more. You know, we wanted to force a turnover, maybe score on defense, kind of get the offense going.
Right. Mario Dobbins is in his 2nd week as the full-time quarterback. Do you think that this first game was kind of, the second game was just part of the growing pains that comes with changing positions so fast?
Absolutely. You know, he had a great game last week, but you know, your quarterback is a position you have to come focus every week, and you know, you learn week to week, and it's not something that you can just pick up in a few days. And you know, you have to be ready for the, you know, bad things or the downfalls that come with the position. And you know, it's just a down week for us this week.
You were able to scout Asheville. Unlike last week, you're not able to scout your opponent. This week, you were able to scout Asheville. Did they do anything different than what you saw on film, or is it about the same?
They did actually what we thought they would do on film. You know, we knew they wasn't going to be able to throw the ball that well, and basically we were going to load the box and basically just have gap integrity. And like I said, once you keep the defense on the field for so long, you know, they tend to wear down, and that's just human nature. That's just, you know, the way the game run. And you know, eventually they got it going, and you know, made some big plays.
At halftime, what's the message to the offense in a game like that?
Well, just stay focused, kind of settle down, stay focused, concentrate on, you know, actually that assignment that you have each play, you know, work on that guy that's in front of you, you know, and even defensively, it's the same message. You know, we have to learn to take it play by play, that there's no special play or no one thing that you can do that's going to just absolutely turn the game around. Absolutely.
And then it also seemed that special teams would be a factor a little bit later. Does that get addressed at halftime when there's not as much punting and field goal kicking and all that?
Right. You know, special teams is one of the areas where we try to at least produce 1 touchdown, and you know, without us having that much punt, actually scoring, we didn't get an opportunity to really just get into it, you know, as well as we wanted to.
Absolutely. 2nd week for the football team, also 2nd week for the Anniston High School Marching Band. A great performance out at Lock Mosby Memorial Stadium. You'll hear them going into break, and we'll come back with second half highlights here on the Bulldog Blitz. Second half highlights here on the Bulldog Blitz. Coach, you start off with the football early on. What's the message at this first drive?
Well, we actually came out and we wanted to actually try to score. You know, we pretty much been a second half team, but you can see that the first particular run that we had, we fumbled the football, so that was a bad sign to us at that particular point. And see, right here, we supposed to have two linebackers on the cutback, and we just were not there. You know, we just didn't cover what we needed to do, and we kind of let them flip the field position on us, and you know, it kind of got us in a bad shape. And right here, we should have had an outside linebacker on the quarterback. They just ran a zone read to the right side, and we went inside, and he just outflanked us and actually scored. And they kept the ball on the ground on us to kind of keep us. You know, we had a great return last week, and right here you can see Quintavious Gordon, linebacker, actually gave us a great return, gave us good field position right here, and we just, you know, just couldn't get it going. Right here we had a slip screen to the left side, and you know, the blocking just wasn't there. Right here we had pretty good coverage right here on the cutback, you know, which we were able to do all night, but we just, you know, one play here or there would break us and get us out of position, and you know, Asheville took advantage of it. You know, right here they ran a screen. We kind of got out of position there, you know, and should have been covered sooner than that, but we caused them to punt the football. And again, right there, we were kind of lucky. You see, they went at the strip, and we fumbled the football, and Mario Dalvin was able to recover it, but you know, I think this may have been one of the longest runs we had all night. We just couldn't quite get everything down like we should have, you know. LJ Hurd right here makes a fantastic run, gets to the end zone. We executed on that particular play, and we finally got on the scoreboard right here. I think the score was 9-6, and we were able to close the gap, so we thought basically we would be in the groove right here. And, you know, defense stepped up a little bit better here. You can see LJ Hurd, I used him a little bit on defense, but on the right side again, we had a busted assignment, and we ended up giving up a big run. And Asheville, you know, they just run the zone read. Linebackers, inside linebackers got out of position and got another big gain on us right here. And they ended up punching it in the end zone on us. We stuffed the middle, and quarterback made a great play. He spun out to his right side, and he actually punched it in and scored on us. And we got the football and ended up having to punt again, and Asheville got it back again. And you can see the quarterback right here. We didn't have anybody on the cutback, and he made a great run right here. And we got the football back again, and of course we tried to run our hook and ladder right there, and just couldn't get it going, you know, and they ended up running the timeout on us, and you know, the end result, they beat us 15-6.
Right. It seemed that when the offense did get rolling, I think it was like in the third quarter, a little bit later in the third quarter, you had the McCants run, and then you had the run for touchdown with LJ, back-to-back plays there. Is that, in a nutshell, what this offense can be? Like, can you point back, even though it was not the kind of game that you wanted overall offensively, point back to specific parts of the game and say, hey, fellas, this is where our ceiling is, and we can play it this every week?
Right. When we do our assignments offensively, and you know, it's more about taking pre-snap reads. You know, when you go to the line, that's one of the things we have to correct with our offensive line. We got 3 sophomores starting on the line, but you know, basically taking a pre-snap read, and those guys are fast enough. If you just get a shield block on somebody, they can make some things happen. But
right.
Asheville was getting entirely too much penetration, and you know, we were confused, and you know, that's where that leadership have to step up.
Absolutely. Also, special teams. You mentioned it last week. Great in the kickoff return game. Had another good one this week. What's the key to what you're doing so well there in special teams, especially on kickoff return?
Well, we got some pretty good guys there that you know, a little bit more aggressive than we had in the past. We've had a couple of guys like DeMonte Miller, some guys that could break long ones, but the overall group back there, the 6 guys we got back there, are guys that are pretty aggressive, and you know, we basically told them, once you get the ball, you know, we need to just get north and south. You need to get downhill, and they've been doing a great job at it. We hadn't put in any special returns yet on a kick return, but they're doing a great job.
How do you manage that as far as when you want to do some different things? Is it kind of a week-to-week thing when you think that you had the matchup there, or is it more you just kind of interlace it during the year, or do you put it all in at the beginning of the season and then trickle it in as the year goes along?
I put it in at the beginning of the year, and we go over it daily. We do everything daily. You know, we have certain sections. We have at least 4 to 5 periods scheduled in practice for special teams, and we do it every day. And basically, we don't do anything new if we don't have to use it.
For sure.
If we're having success with what we're doing, we just keep doing it. And then when we go up against a team that, you know, maybe we got to break out something new on, then we'll use it then. But other than that, we just basically do the things that we need to do.
After you saw the game, and I know the players, of course, they were dejected afterwards, what's the message to them going into the third week and then the second week of region play?
Well, basically, I just have to tell myself I have to find another way to, you know, keep the guys motivated. And, you know, film can be deceiving sometimes, and I think that, you know, one of the biggest things with my team is that, you know, once we watch film, the players will tend to make a judgment themselves. And, you know, Asheville on film looked totally different than in person. And we had that happen to us last year against Hayden. And I just have to do a better job. I'm going to make some personnel changes, some position changes, and, you know, just try to do some things differently to get them motivated and keep them focused on what we have to do to win the games.
You mentioned you're a second-half team, and that really manifests itself last year in a lot of different games. Do you see also yourself as kind of like a second-half coach where after seeing some of the things that you were able to do in that first half, be able to translate in the second half, and do you think that translates game to game as well moving forward?
Well, you do. One of the thought processes I have is that, you know, basically if you keep doing the same thing, you'll keep getting the same results. And if I don't get the results that I want in the first half, you have to make adjustments. And if you don't, it's only going to get worse. And so basically I just go in, you know, I analyze, you know, I don't overreact. I just analyze the first half, and I go in the second half and try to do the things that I feel like we need to do to be successful. Sometimes it's just simplifying what you're doing, and sometimes you just got to open things up, you know. And,
right.
I just try to make the adjustments we need, but I just don't think we were focused enough. We were too relaxed. You know, I think we were still living off that game last week, and it just caught up with us.
Absolutely. They'll get a chance to refocus and get a first win of the season coming up next week against Cherokee County, a very, very interesting game against a local rival. We will preview that game next here on the Bulldog Blitz. And Class 4A Region 5 is always really, really interesting. But, Coach, your next game is against Cherokee County, a team that most people might not know, but Anniston has been playing them since 1922. Perfect 8-0 Anniston is over Cherokee County, a team that you know well and a coach you know well with Trip Curry. Talk about some of the things you know about the Warriors and you expect Friday night.
Well, Cherokee County is a very explosive team. They more or less like we are as far as athletic-wise, player-wise, very talented kids, and they can be very explosive, you know. So the record is not indicative of that particular team, and you know, we got a tough battle, whether it's at home or away. Cherokee County has 3 big-time playmakers, and you know, we got our work cut out for us.
Right. You mentioned the record, and it's not indicative of the way they're playing. They've played really 2 strong games, or against 2 strong teams, against Rockmart and against Piedmont. Kind of similar to you guys. You've played Sylacauga, who we expect to do what Sylacauga has done over the past couple of years and make runs in the playoffs. So do you use that to say, hey, fellas, this team is not their record. They're better than their record?
Well, I think they know. You know, we saw Cherokee County on film, and they basically, you know, a mirror image of what we do, and you know, they just as fast as we are offensively on the line. They're probably bigger than we are, and you know, it's just going to be a test of wheels. You know, we go out, we got an uphill battle. We just got to keep fighting.
Absolutely. 2013, you were both in the same region. You beat them 14-7. Are there any things that you could take away from old matchups? I know the players have changed and the personnel is different, but from old matchups, just from a tendency perspective and all of that, is there anything you could take away from some of those games and use it in Friday night?
Well, you can tendency-wise because they have the same coach, and of course, you know, we have the same coach, and I'm sure they'll look at old film on us. But you know, as far as intensity-wise, you know, that's the key, you know, ingredient to us going into that game because, like I said, records don't matter. You know, our guys normally gets up for Cherokee County, and Cherokee County gets up for us. So, you know, it's basically, you know, who make less mistakes that particular night and, you know, whose technique sound and, you know, intensity-wise. So that's sort of what we want to go on, you know, basically just know that we got an uphill battle because they already got a win and we don't.
Absolutely. What are some of the things that you've seen that you know of as we sit here today? I know you haven't watched a ton of film, but some of the things that you've seen that you have to stop offensively from what they do from your defensive perspective?
Well, you know, as I mentioned, they have two great receivers and they have a great quarterback, and that's the key. You know, you got to keep the quarterback boxed in. He's very aggressive and, you know, he takes ownership. You know, that's his team, and he's the leader on that team. So, you know, the quickest way to get to them is get to the leader. And, of course, you know, they got two receivers, one that can just, he can flat out fly. He's just as fast as anybody we got on our team. And, you know, we got to corral that guy and keep him on the check, you know. And basically, we just got to shut down the big three that they have.
From an offensive perspective, from your guys, is there a sense that, hey, we want to go out and prove that last week wasn't us and kind of an itch to get back on the field after a performance that they had in game one and then in game two to kind of rectify all that in game three?
Well, we have to. Jamboree, we had a pretty good showing. Of course, we had our quarterback, and then against Sylacauga, we had a great showing with Mario Dobbins coming in, replacing it. And, you know, the challenge we gave the guys was that, you know, we have to go out and prove that that game wasn't a fluke against Sylacauga. And, of course, we went out and laid an egg. And, you know, we just got to go back and try to come back and prove that we can be consistent. You know, coaches and I, we talked about we haven't been able to put together in the last couple of years just back-to-back consistent good games. And, you know, that's one of our goals is to be able to put consecutive good games together, whether it's offensively or defensively.
Right. I know you want to focus on 1 week at a time, but we always try to take a look at the bigger picture in Class 4A, Region 5, and now everybody's a game in to the region, and you know either you're 1-0 or you're 0-1. Nobody's marking playoff spots right now, and nobody's out of the playoffs. But talk about some of the things that you see out of this region that you share with 7 good teams.
Well, basically we on the lower half, so you know we got to do something to try to get from down there. 4 teams that you see at the top were teams that were already picked to will actually be there, and of course you got Sacs, you know, which is a surprise. You know, Sacs was actually picked to be in the top 4, so. You know, basically, we just got an uphill fight. We got to fight to try to get in that top echelon.
And also, it seems to me that when you take a look at the region and you have teams like Aniana and in White Plains, they played last week, and that was a game that was a lot closer than most people expected. Your game was probably a game that a lot of people thought would go, you know, one way, a little bit more expected. So, are the surprises surprising to you as well?
Absolutely. You know. I always tell my guys, you know, I use the old adage that if I were to play my grandmother, you know, she better bring her best game. But, you know, when you play in teams like this, you can never underestimate your opponent because, you know, if you have a reputation, people always, you know, wants to attack that person or they want to show, you know, what their level of competition is by playing against you. And the thing you have to do is make sure you can keep the intensity up. And that's where I feel that, you know, as a coach with my team is, you know, not being able to motivate them to keep that intensity level up. And that's what I've been working on all week, not so much the X's and O's, but what can I do differently to make sure that throughout the rest of the season we maintain the intensity level that we need in order to give ourselves a chance to make the playoffs. Absolutely. Well said. It's a good challenge for the Bulldogs moving forward. That game will be at Lot Mosby Memorial Stadium. Head out to the stadium this Friday night. Check out Cherokee County and Anniston, week number 2 in region play, 3 overall. We'll see you here next week to recap it all on the Bulldog Blitz.